short practice to focus on kidney loop, and we will also focus on forearm stands. That'll be about 20 minutes long. So this is Stuart and this is Hannah, and they're going to be our models today. And if you guys can start in child pose. So just start to come into the breath. Root the tailbone down towards the floor, down towards your heels. The first thing we're going to do is try to isolate the upper abdominal muscles and the lower ribs from the upper back. So Stuart and Hannah are going to lift through the upper abdominals, rounding through the back, and then exhale and melt through the heart. Take the chest and the sternum down towards the floor. And you might feel the back lengthen and the sides of the waist will lengthen. And then you have to counter that by taking the hips back towards the heels, maybe a little bit more. Good, you can press into your hands to do that. And then go ahead and do that again. Inhale, take the ribs up, even round through the back. And then exhale and take the heart down towards the floor. Start to tuck your toes under. Take your inner thighs back and come into a downward facing dog. Lift your hips up towards the ceiling. And just so that you can feel what the sort of counter movement feels like, start to maybe hop to collapse through the middle of the back. And collapse. Just collapse and let the heart go, but also let the whole midsection go. So let the stomach go. Don't hold anything back. And feel how that kind of drags on the spine a little bit. Now go ahead and lift through the bottom of the ribs, the lower ribs, rounding through the back a little bit, and then melt the heart down towards the floor. So you have some lift here. This is lifting, this is holding you up and creating some lightness. If you were to jump right now when you landed, if you held that, you would make no sound. It would be absolutely silent. Beautiful. So do that again. Collapse through the back. Just collapse everything. Let the heart melt. And then lift through the ribs. And then melt the heart down. And if you lose the lift of the ribs, just find it again. Good. And then melt through the heart. Good. Take the weight back in the thighs. And then roll yourself forward, moving from the lower ribs. Roll yourself forward into a plank pose. Beautiful. Round through the back a little bit more, Hannah, when you do it again. Hold hands on the floor, lift your chest towards the front wall, and then exhale, lift through the lower ribs, the upper abdominals, and come back into a downward facing dog. Lift through the lower ribs, come forward, there you go, into a plank pose, rounding through the back. Use your hands on the floor to pull your heart center forward, almost like a snake. And then lift through the upper abdominals, come back into a downward facing dog. And do this 3 more times. Inhaling, rounding through the back to come forward. And at the very end, let the chest move forward, but don't lose the ribs. And come back, downward facing dog. And 2 more times. And make sure to leave maybe your heels a little bit behind you. And lift up through the tops of the thighs. And come back. 1 more time, just like that. Great. From there, come all the way back into a downward dog. Lift your right leg up to the ceiling. And squeeze the thigh towards the midline. So turning the thigh underneath, squeeze it. Imagine that somebody's standing here and that you're actually trying to push them over. Dana's going to try to push me over. There you go. Good. And then put the foot down. And then lift the other leg up. And do the same thing. And lift up through the lower ribs as you do it. Good. You can counter that by squeezing the right hip. And then put the foot down. Wonderful. Coming through a plank pose. Beautiful. Lowering yourself either to chaturanga or all the way down to the floor. And coming up to upward facing dog or cobra. Again, lifting through the stomach here. So even though it's a back bend, lift up through the upper abdominals and come back downward facing dog. Take your right leg back up to the ceiling. Squeeze the leg to the midline and bring your right knee to the nose and put the foot between your hands. Good. Come into a high lunge. So come all the way up. Great. And let's take our hands into a sort of a beach ball, holding a beach ball position. So round through the back, really round, get rounded here. So lift your lower stomach off the front thigh. So Don't bend forward from here. Lift up, lift up. Now lift up, keep the ribs back, and just open the chest up. And bring your hands into a cactus pose. Good, pull the ribs a little bit back in, that's it. And you probably feel even more of an opening on the back leg than you're used to. Great, and do that one more time, just coming into the beach ball arms. And then taking the hands back into a cactus, leaving the ribs where they were. Hand come back a little bit more over the pelvis, that's it. Yes, good. Hands on either side of the front foot, and just jump and switch your feet, hop and switch your feet. Nice landing, both of you, good. Rolling all the way up. And taking the beach ball arms, rolling, rounding through the spine, and then lift the chest up, coming into cactus arms. Great. And then coming back, beach ball arms. And then coming back up into your cactus. Good. Hands on either side of your front foot. And you can come through your vinyasa, or you can come through your downward facing dog. So coming all the way down to the floor hand on this one, and come through your chaturanga. Good. And coming into a cobra hand and pulling your hands back. And exhaling back, downward facing dog. Great. Start to walk your feet forward to meet your hands. And when you get to the front of the mat, take your hands to your hips and come into a flat back and come all the way back up to stand. Lifting through the stomach to lift yourself up. Good. And sit back into an utkatasana. Take your hands up. And again, pulling the ribs back in, and then lift the chest up. Bring your hands into a cactus pose. Good. So keep lifting the sternum up, and then move the back of your head back. So instead of looking up, instead of the front of the neck back or the back of the head back. Good. Take your hands to your heart center and twist over to your right side. So scoop the belly, move the ribs in, and then lift your heart center up towards the ceiling. You can also think of moving the sternum towards the front wall. And both sternum and have nice, even backs here. Good. So the lower back actually stays pretty flat. It's just the upper back that's in a twist. Good. And then come back into utkatasana. Hands up. And then bring your hands to your heart center and twist over to the other side. Scooping through the belly, lifting the heart center up towards the front wall. Good. And then falling over, bring your hands down to the floor. Inhale to a flat back. And exhale. And come through your vinyasa hand if you can come through cobra, that'd be great. And coming back into downward facing dog. Let's take our right forearm down to the floor, and then your left forearm down to the floor. And then lifting through the ribs, and then melt the heart down. Good. And then even pull in the belly button here and melt the heart down. So I'm going to come into more of a down forearm dog and circle forearm plank. Yeah, so walk your feet in a little bit more. That's it. There you go. Good. Great. And then take your right hand up and left hand up and come back into a downward facing dog. Great. And one more time, let's try this time. Take your forearms down to the floor in one movement, if it's possible. It's okay if you collapse. Good. And then pulling your chest forward, come into a forearm plank. Walk your feet back so that you're in a full plank. Good. Squeezing the forearms towards one another. You can use a block between your thumbs if that works for you here. If you have a block at home. Good. And just stay for up to 5 breaths. And then when you've had it, you can push yourself back up into either a child's pose or a dolphin downward facing dog. Great. And then coming onto your knees, so coming back through a child's, lift your hips up over your knees. So come back into a child's, and we're going to come into puppy pose. So take your hips up over your knees. You might need to walk your feet back, and take your arms forward in front of you. So lift your hips really directly over your knees. That's it. Good. And then melt the heart down towards the floor. So getting an opening through the whole back of the upper back. Good. And you can even play here with lifting up the ribs to try to isolate that from the upper back. Great. Walk your hands back. And come into a downward facing dog. Wonderful. And then take your right leg up to the ceiling, squeeze the thigh into the midline, bring your right knee to your nose, and come into a warrior one. Pulling the ribs back. Opening yourself up into a warrior two. Take your right hand down to the inside of your right foot. Push into the outside of that back foot. Now take your ribs back here and then lift your chest up towards the ceiling. And your left hand can be on the sacrum, it can be on your hip. And then, or, Stuart, if you would take your left hand up to the ceiling and then take it over your left ear. And then Hannah, if you would take your left hand and take it behind and hold on to the top of the right thigh. That would be great. So pulling the ribs in and then lifting the chest up. Beautiful. Come back into a warrior two. And then cartwheel your hands on either side of the front foot. And come through your vinyasa, or come back to downward facing dog. And lift your left leg up to the ceiling. And bring the knee to the nose. Opening yourself up into warrior one, so the foot between the hands. So remembering that beach ball arm action and pull the ribs back in, lift the chest up, and opening out to warrior two. And take the left hand to the inside of the left foot, and take the right arm either over the ear to the hip, to the sacrum, or around the back, taking hold of the thigh. So pulling the ribs back and then twisting the chest open. And then coming back into warrior two. And cartwheel the hands onto either side of the front foot. And coming through your vinyasa one last time. And meeting in downward facing dog. You can take a break into child's here for a couple breaths. And then we'll move into practicing some forearm stands. So you'll come onto your forearms. The first step, you'll come into your forearms. So coming onto your knees, bringing the forearms down. And what you can do is you can use a block here between the thumbs to kind of judge what the space can, how wide you want your arms. And you might need to use a wider purple block, or the brick might work for you, depending on the width of your shoulders. Coming into a downward facing dog. And from there, you're just going to lift we're going to actually just melt the heart. So you're going to practice melting the heart down, just what we've been doing. So lifting through the ribs and just melting the heart. Beautiful. Good. And then you might need to take a break between all of these actions. The next action you'll do is lifting your right leg up to the ceiling. Yes, you can demo doing the break. And then flex through the foot. Good. And then put the other foot down. And then lift the other leg up. Wonderful. And then take a break, coming back into child's. Good. And I'll have you do the next one. So pushing into the forearms. Squeeze the elbows towards one another. Now, just like we did with the cobra action, pull the hands on the floor, let the heart come forward. Tuck the toes under, lift into your downward facing dog. Lift up through the lower ribs, lift up through the belly button, and then just take your right leg up and just do a little hop and try to land silently. Beautiful. Nice silent landing. It means that she's holding onto her stomach. Gorgeous. And then maybe try the other leg. Beautiful. Good. Good. And then Stuart, if you come into a forearm stand for me. So Stuart's going to come into a forearm stand, and depending on the width of your shoulders, and how tight your shoulders are, your elbows might be a little bit wide if you have super tight shoulders. If they're not tight, then you're going to try to be very parallel with your shoulder coming out over your elbow, your wrist coming directly out of your elbow. Pushing into the hands, scooping through the belly. I'm going to do Stuart's wall, so you can do this with the wall. And he's going to do a nice little hop up into the shoulder stand. He can work through the heels, lifting the heels up, turning the inner thighs towards one another, squeezing the legs, melting the heart down, keeping the belly. Beautiful. And then he'll take one leg down, and then the other, coming into a child's. Hannah, would you like to do it? Okay. Good. And then coming back into a child's pose. And then we'll sit all the way up, pushing through the hands. And then just swing your legs out in front of you and come into a mayurasana, a starfish pose. So putting the soles of the feet together, taking the hands to the ankles. And stretch around back through the back, letting the weight fall back down into the sort of back of the sit bone. And then taking the head down towards the floor, the middle of the legs. Take the elbows out to the side and pull your lower back straight. And then when you get to however far you want to go, you let your head go. And release into the legs. And then slowly walk yourself back up to sit. And make yourself ready for a relaxation, a shavasana. Moving any props out of the way, lying down onto your back. And releasing the hands. Releasing through the feet, through the knees.